My name is Nickel, Nickel, and these are 5 weird facts about Studio Ghibli. Since Ghibli's co-founder, Hayao Miyazaki, is so deeply intertwined with the studio itself, a lot of this will come from that perspective. Most people who don't know what Studio Ghibli is will probably still recognize their iconic character Totoro, which you can see featured here in Toy Story 3. So of course we'll talk about him a bit later on in the video too. This video is brought to you by Crunchyroll. If you're a fan of anime, you're probably gonna like Crunchyroll, but I'll tell you more about it later on in the video. So let's get started. My Neighbor Totoro is one of Studio Ghibli's most iconic films, and there may be a bit more to it than meets the eye. Although it's not directly stated but instead implied, Satsuki and Mei's mother is suffering from tuberculosis in the film, which makes it semi-autobiographical, because when Miyazaki and his brothers were children, his mother also suffered from tuberculosis, a spinal tuberculosis. This lasted 9 years for her, and much of that time she had to spend in the hospital. Miyazaki said the film would be too painful to make if the protagonists were 2 boys instead of 2 girls. And there is of course the whole theory that Totoro is actually an angel of death and only appears to those that are about to die, which is possibly the meaning behind the scene where Mei goes missing and a sandal is found in the pond, implying that she drowned. Satsuki calls for Totoro's help, she enters death's door and finds her dead sister and joins her. They both go to the hospital where the only person that can actually realize that they're there is their mother, who is also close to death. Most people will probably write this off as just a novel concept, but if you look a little deeper into the film, you might find a few more hooks that tie it all together. In May of 1963, a man kidnapped, raped, and killed a 16-year-old high school girl in Sayama City. This was known as the Sayama Incident. And I know this can be pronounced differently, but I'll say it as it's read to minimize confusion. The older sister of the victim that was killed in Sayama had claimed that she saw the apparition of a big raccoon or a cat-like ghost before she herself committed suicide. Totoro may have been directly inspired by this, and it goes even deeper. The film's location was inspired by Tokorozawa City, which neighbors Sayama City, which is where the Sayama incident occurred. In this scene, it says Sayama Tea behind the old lady. The hospital that's portrayed in the film is only 1 character off from the real-life version of the hospital in Sayama. The model of the house that's in the film is found in Sayama Hills. Satsuki's name means May in Japanese, as in the month of May. In May is just like it's pronounced in English, May, which establishes a location or at the very least references to Sayama and both girls to the month of May, which is when the Sayama incident occurred. When the girls are traveling in the cat bus, one of the few destinations shown is to the Grave Road or cemetery. That's quite a lot of evidence that points to Totoro being a Shinigami or death god, but hey, maybe it's just a giant coincidence. Studio Ghibli has directly responded to this by simply replying, "No need to be alarmed. There is absolutely no truth or configuration that Totoros are gods of death or that Mei is dead in My Neighbor Totoro." Miyazaki has been known to have an anti-technology stance throughout the years, stating that he does not own a fax machine, a DVD player, or even a computer. In Studio Ghibli's monthly free magazine Neppu, he even went as far as to say while referring to iPads that, quote, "For me, there is no feeling of admiration or no excitement whatsoever. It's disgusting. On a train, the number of people doing that strange masturbation-like gesture is multiplying." Perhaps this stance is the reason he decided to invest $2.5 million of his own money into a 100,000 square foot retreat for Japan's youth on the remote island of Kumajima, which is about 55 miles west of Okinawa. There's to be a 2-story dormitory to accommodate 30 kids and a library built on an older playground that's all surrounded by a virgin forest. The construction plans are designed to integrate the buildings within the natural setting. The goal is to give children a greater appreciation for the natural world through direct experience. Miyazaki has stated that it is becoming increasingly difficult to reach children's souls because of encroachments of consumerism and digital life. He said, "Utopia exists only in one's childhood life." Construction is slated to begin in 2016, but won't be complete until 2018, and the name of the sanctuary is The Forest Where the Wind Returns. No Face was a character introduced in the 2002 Studio Ghibli film Spirited Away. In China, there's a service company that had a No Face Day. Apparently, the purpose of this was to help de-stress employees from the pressure to constantly smile for clients and customers. If you can't get enough of bringing Spirited Away to life, there's also a city in Taiwan called Jiufeng that resembles the setting for Spirited Away. Miyazaki was believed to have visited a tea house while staying there that showed up in the movie as the bathhouse. In 2003, Spirited Away was nominated for Best Animated Feature by the Academy Awards, and then won.
The Academy congratulates Hayao Miyazaki and accepts this on his behalf.
But Miyazaki did not attend the event. At the time, he didn't explain his reasoning for not attending, but during an interview at Comic-Con, he said, "The reason I wasn't here for the Academy Award was because I didn't want to visit a country that was bombing Iraq." There's not much more to this one if you've already seen the film, but it seems like many Ghibli fans still haven't seen From Up on Poppy Hill. So you might be unaware of this film's interesting plot decisions. Two students, Shun and Umi, are gradually drawn to one another. Shun discovers that they both own copies of an identical photograph of three men, and they realize that they share the same father. After checking the city records, Shun learns that they both are registered in the Sawamura family registry. He then reveals this to Umi that they are actually siblings. Initially, she hides her feelings towards him and they continue as friends, cause, you know, it would be kind of weird if brother and sister were to have feelings like that. But despite that tiny inconvenience, Umi confesses her feelings for Shun, who feels the same way, even though at the time they still believe that they are siblings. It's kind of like a reverse Star Wars situation. Ultimately, it turns out that they aren't siblings, so their decision to want one another in the end was normalized, I guess. FilmMisery.com summed up the film's unconventional romantic relationship by saying, "When those confessions of love, in spite of inadvertent possibility of incest, come, it's fantastic to note we're not gagging at the thought of it. I'd say only Studio Ghibli can make incest so romantic." In 1983, Miyazaki unleashed his feelings of frustration on the US in the form of a handwritten piece that was accompanied by drawings of angry versions of himself. It also goes over how he's against automobiles and other things that he believed originated in the US. Here's what it says. "I dislike the United States that dropped nuclear bombs and does not regret it. I'm anti-Security Council, I'm against Neutral Alliance and against Americanization, so obviously I had no interest in riding an automobile. I hate people who are proud that cheap Japanese cars are popular in America, and I look at people who wear badges of the US Army and US Air Force that filled Vietnam with dioxins and enemies. So I'm against motorization. So why did such a man come to ride in an automobile? When my wife's belly began to grow, the young me believed that as a husband, it was my duty to carry the same weight. So I decided that even though I did not know if it was a boy or a girl since it hadn't been born yet, in order to take my child to nursery school, I would go to driving school, a place that still gives me shivers to remember. All driving schools should burn to the ground. My wife went through quite an ordeal with a difficult birth, but it was an equally difficult birth for me." The text surrounding his character on the upper right says, "Anti-jeans, anti-bourbon, anti-burgers, hooray for Stetico, screw briefs, anti-fried chicken, anti-cola, anti-American coffee, what's my car you moron, anti-New York, anti-West Coast, Disneyland, go back to America." The final fact is that the like button on this video is actually a death god, and pushing the like button will destroy him. But the problem is, then you become the death god. This video was sponsored by Crunchyroll, the biggest, most diverse anime streaming experience there is. Crunchyroll provides ad-free, 1080p, professionally subtitled anime with over 25,000 episodes and growing. And it's not just classic anime. The newest episodes are up as early as 1 hour after they air in Japan. Go to crunchyroll.com/o or click the link in the description to grab yourself a free 30-day trial that will bestow the powers of unlimited access to any of those episodes. Yeah, completely free. That's 30 days of pure Parasite the Maximum bliss that you can watch straight from your PlayStation, Xbox, Roku, Wii U, and more. I hope you enjoy Crunchyroll. Feel free to tweet me any suggestions for anime that you think I should check out on there as well. Now for the outro. My name is Nickel, Nickel. While I was in Japan, I actually did go to the Studio Ghibli Museum with some of my friends, and even though you can't take photos inside of the building itself, we took some photos outside of it, so you can check those that are on screen right now. When you get your ticket to go inside, they give you this film cell looking thing. I wish I still had it, but that allows you also to go to a screening that's within the museum, because apparently they make short films that are only shown inside of the Studio Ghibli Museum. At least that's what the guy told me there. But if you ever find yourself in Japan, I would definitely recommend you checking it out, because it's cool. It's a really cool atmosphere and everything's in the style. They even have a giant statue in front of it, and you can see over the edge, like across a lot of the land from the top of it, or not on top of the building itself, but on the top floor that they let you go to. They also have Miyazaki's desk, I believe. It's like one of his first desks that he started drawing on. It's a long time ago. If I can find the footage, maybe I'll show you guys some of the actual footage instead of just the photos. But also, if you haven't checked out the Weird Facts Star Wars, you should check it out. But Holy cow, thank you to every person that has watched it so far. I think that video is the fastest growing video this channel has ever seen. So if you haven't checked out Weird Fact Star Wars, check it out. And if you have, thanks a lot. But regardless, thanks for even just watching this video. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.